Muito obrigado. Agradeço à APDC pelo convite e obrigado a todos por me ouvirem, que é algo que não acontece sempre em minha casa, portanto, estou muito agradecido. O meu nome é Pedro Nogueira da Silva, sou responsável da área de Digital Experience da NTT Data e venho-vos falar de um tema que nos é muito querido e é uma grande aposta do nosso laboratório de inovação, o metaverso. E o que é isto do metaverso? Temos ouvido falar muito, tem sido criado um grande buzz. É importante começarmos por uma definição. O metaverso é um conjunto de mundos virtuais que contém representações 3D de pessoas e organizações que interagem entre si. Existem já algumas plataformas que vão de encontro a este conceito, no entanto, falham num pormenor, ainda não interagem entre si, não formam uma rede. Portanto, eu, Pedro, ou a minha representação virtual, se estiver numa das plataformas ou noutra, sou duas entidades diferentes. Acreditamos que o metaverso, no futuro, quando atingir o seu fim, será um único metaverso. Adicionalmente, para complementar esta definição, não acredito que sejam só mundos virtuais que vamos ter no metaverso. Existem um conjunto de tecnologias como Digital Twins, realidade aumentada, Digital Humans, Blockchain, IoT, que vão complementar a definição e definir o que será o metaverso. Mas não se preocupem, que estas indefinições são perfeitamente normais nas tecnologias emergentes. Portanto, há 30 anos, a internet passou pelo mesmo e sabemos o que é hoje. O metaverso está na sua infância, portanto, requer muita definição. O hype cycle é assim que é, até atingir o seu platô de produtividade. Já ouvi mortes anunciadas e precoces do metaverso, citando Mark Twain, parecem-me manifestamente exageradas. Ele falava da sua própria morte. Em 2026, cerca de 1/4 da população passarão cerca de 1 hora por dia no metaverso. É um número fácil de acreditar. As gerações mais novas já o fazem atualmente. E como é que o fazem? Utilizam os seus óculos de realidade virtual e também estes óculos estão a sofrer evolução, porque não acredito que nós no futuro andemos todos com óculos com aquele peso altamente intrusivos na cabeça. Portanto, estas tecnologias, estes dispositivos estão a evoluir para tornarem-se menos intrusivos e para garantirem experiências imersivas ou mistas. Mais importante do que as definições é perceber como é que o metaverso vai impactar as nossas vidas, pela positiva. Trago-vos alguns exemplos para vários setores de atividade, começando na educação. Eventualmente o mais óbvio será, no meio académico, eu conseguir estudar em Harvard ou noutra universidade qualquer do mundo, portanto um acesso mais facilitado à educação. No ramo empresarial, a NTT Data tem trabalhado em algumas provas de conceito, normalmente na manutenção, a informação para a manutenção em cenários de risco elevado ou cujo objeto tenha um grande custo. Temos aqui 2 exemplos, um de uma turbina eólica e outro de um avião. Um outro setor que tem investido muito no metaverso é o setor da indústria, de tal forma que tem um conceito para ele próprio, que é o Industrial Metaverse. O setor da indústria tem alavancado muito no conceito de Digital Twin. O que é um Digital Twin? É a simulação virtual de um objeto real, replicando o comportamento desse objeto para o mundo virtual. Portanto, é fácil perceber que numa linha de produção, numa linha de distribuição, conseguimos ter toda essa linha mapeada virtualmente e quer por monitorização para identificação de falhas em alguma das máquinas, ou ainda mais interessante, poder fazer simulações sobre esta linha de montagem para otimizar e ter ganhos de eficiência. Um conceito semelhante podemos transportar para a área da saúde. Na área da saúde, imaginemos que a simulação é o corpo humano. Da mesma forma, eu consigo dar formação para uma cirurgia, portanto, sobre um corpo humano, ou também, mais interessante, conseguir simular uma terapia ou algum tratamento num corpo humano, percebendo a sua evolução. Voltando a temas que há mais terrenos, também a medicina online, que todos conhecemos, provavelmente pós-pandemia, começámos a ser a utilizar mais, beneficiará de uma experiência mais imersiva no contacto com o médico. O entretenimento e os mídia são outra área de foco, têm criado experiências imersivas e aqui é uma nova forma de produção de conteúdos. Este exemplo que está aqui é um exemplo da Disney, é um vídeo em que a pessoa pode movimentar-se e ver o making-of do próprio filme. Também tornou, e na área da cultura e também do entretenimento, mais acessível. Eu posso estar em Lisboa a ver um museu ou a fazer um tour numa outra cidade qualquer com uma experiência mais imersiva ou assistir a um concerto. No Fortnite, este concerto, e agora trago também um exemplo que me aconteceu a mim e se calhar a alguns de nós aqui na sala, houve um concerto dado pelo rapper Travis Scott no Fortnite que teve mais de 12 milhões de pessoas a assistir. Ora, e depois do Travis Scott já outros artistas fizeram o mesmo. O que me surpreendeu aqui foi que o meu filho, o Francisco, no meio da pandemia, pediu-me para ir ver um concerto. Eu achei um concerto onde, no Fortnite, do Travis Scott. Eu não fazia ideia de quem era o Travis Scott, nem sabia que era possível dar concertos no Fortnite. Mas o que eu achei mais curioso é que o Francisco também não conhecia o Travis Scott. Ele estava no Fortnite pela plataforma e porque os amigos estavam lá e, pelos vistos, 12 milhões de amigos. Portanto, isto é muito importante porque as marcas estão a beneficiar destas plataformas para fazer colocação de marca. Por exemplo, há uma marca portuguesa, a Small Compal, que colocou-se num videojogo, no GTA, precisamente percebendo a potencialidade destas plataformas. Portanto, há aqui um conjunto de ideias inspiradoras. O metaverso vai continuar a evoluir e o que eu gostava que levassem desta sessão é que criem a vossa própria visão sobre o metaverso, experimentem e testem nas vossas organizações e desafiem, vejam o que funciona e o que não funciona e peçam à NTT Data para vos ajudar, se for necessário, e acompanhem a evolução do metaverso, porque senão vão perder o comboio. Muito obrigado.
Vamos então entrar neste mundo fascinante, como acabámos de perceber, que é o metaverso. Para a nossa próxima conversa estão connosco por videochamada Kavya Perlman, que é CEO da XRSY, Extended Reality Security Initiative, e ainda aqui ao meu lado Luís Bravo Martins, que é o Presidente do Departamento Metaverso da APDC. E começo pela Kavya. Kavya, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Let me start by tell you that your company works on security and privacy in Metaverse. How is this done?
So it's an interesting question because it's a complex one.
I know.
We are a nonprofit, a standard developing organization. And the best way to explain this is really to kind of walk you through the journey that we went through since 2019. That's when we formulated ourselves. So a little bit of a background I have to present is I was over at Facebook in 2016 during US presidential election time. I was doing third-party security. And I sort of realized when you potentially ignore the risks of technology, it could even undermine democracies. Thereafter, I became the head of security at the oldest existing virtual world. Some of you may have heard of Second Life at Linden Lab. And that's where I saw this sort of like a prototypical metaverse where people literally live their lives online in the forms of virtual worlds, carried out virtual economies, etc. So once I left the lab, it became clear to me what future could look like. And of course, dealing with all sorts of compliance, privacy, safety, security issues, I got busy gathering like-minded people to focus on these emerging technologies and the issues that it brought along, especially with a specific focus on immersive technologies, which is now we're talking about, is the evolution of the metaverse. And so it is a complex issue to keep up with so many emergences. And on top of that, to keep a track on what all types of risks, there's a plethora of risks. So I remember when we first started with like, hey, what exactly is XR? You know, one of the basic technologies. So starting with just understanding the taxonomy, the terminologies. I mean, currently, we recently put out what is the standard definition of the metaverse, because we need to be able to speak a common language if we're going to address these risks. So fast forward, you know, our mission has evolved into several areas like diversity and inclusion. So we have a Cyber XR coalition. There has to be a specific focus on children's safety. So there is a child safety initiative. We have even a medical XR council. So several of the neuroscientists, surgeons, cybersecurity professionals, we assemble them from all over the world. We have over 200 advisors now, including one of the presidents of the Metaverse section at APDC, Louis, who is I have the privilege to share the stage with. But yeah, this is, you know, become almost like it's become a global movement. And now we are even in Europe, in Italy, and pretty soon in Australia, and just, you know, making sure that governments, individuals, big tech organizations understand the privacy implications, keep up with the unintended consequences. So individuals, societies, and our ecosystems are protected from this convergence.
Let's also hear Luis, on behalf of a safer, more democratic and inclusive metaverse, APDC established an important partnership. Tell us more.
Well, actually, that's, well, first of all, good afternoon to you all, and good afternoon to you also to you, and to you, Kavya. So that's actually what we're going to announce today. So maybe to give you then a bit more of a context, today I know that all of us are very much in touch with change. So change is pretty much all around us, much more now than it was like 5 years ago, right? We endured a pandemic. Right now, the geopolitical scenario is a bit different. We don't know how things are going to evolve. And then suddenly, like, I don't know, 9 months ago, we started hearing about AI services that are deeming some professional activities obsolete and changing completely, disrupting several others. So now the issue is that we have then technological development that is, and disruption that is now speeding up, accelerating. We have so many different great opportunities to leverage, not just from each one of these technologies, but also from the convergence of these technologies that will fundamentally create this vision of the metaverse, of a 3D real-time web. But more than that, we should realize that we as individuals and organizations, we are test driving or beta testing these technologies without any notion of what is a responsible usage. So because we do not know, actually no one knows what the impact of these technologies is going to be at an individual and social level. So that's why it's so important to grasp this notion and to embrace that this is our actual reality, but we need to take heed on these. We need to act. We need to fundamentally start to try and define and trying to localize all these opportunities for organizations inside APDC, but at the same time, also the challenges in setting up these technologies. So that's why it's so interesting, and it's also a privilege for me to announce this partnership between XRSI and APDC, in the sense that we now have the possibility to tap into a network of worldwide experts in safety and privacy in immersive worlds that can help us navigate this world or these huge number of possibilities that this path into the metaverse brings, but at the same time, doing it in a responsible way.
Kavya, let's go by parts. Security and privacy. What has been done so far, and what remains to be done?
So sitting out here in the US, it's easy to admit that we haven't done much when it comes to privacy. But this is why, our movement has to be global. If the United States can't wrap the federal privacy laws around and can't put it out there, we need to go to Europe, where we can create a baseline. So there are some really good developments that are happening around the world. We are seeing lots of different governments paying attention and even asking for a call for consultation. We've been working with European Commission directly for over a year now for their Metaverse initiative. We have worked with several governments in the Middle East, entities like United Nations, etc. So there are some really, really good things that are developing. Just last week, even at the White House, there were several of the efforts talking about all kinds of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, and potentially even putting a Bill of Rights. So there are some optimistic developments. However, what we are confronting now, what's really kind of hard to do, it points to something like I call it, and it's not my term, but it's a very research term called Collingridge dilemma, and that's where our work sort of becomes very, very significant, because Collingridge dilemma is essentially a double-bind problem. It indicates that we have an information problem where the impact cannot be easily predicted until the technology is fully developed and widely used. But then we have a power problem, kind of like Louis was indicating with artificial intelligence, is the control and change is very difficult when the technology is fully entrenched with society. So now we kind of sit in this sort of sweet spot as XRSI, as this collective human intelligence of several of the experts from so many different domains, to try to anticipate, to try to research and document, as well as inform at the same time all the stakeholders around the world. So this is a very unique way to do this. We even hack some of these technologies back in 2019. Some of our senior advisors discovered novel cyber attacks in virtual reality, where you could move a subject without their permission. So all in all, the one last bit that I want to mention is my background is cybersecurity. I have a master's in cybersecurity. I really focus on that domain with passion. So what I feel is traditionally the internet has been the attack surface, as we call it. The cyber attacks have been limited to networks, nodes, and servers. And now this attack surface, you think about brain-computer interfaces, and even just, being able to move a subject in the surrounding, the attack surface is expanding to our brain and to our surroundings. So that's kind of what is unique, is now you have a human in the loop and a society in the loop, for which we really need to get ready for.
Luis, early this year, Facebook lost $4 billion with Metaverse. Still, Mark Zuckerberg wants to continue to invest. Why?
That's probably a question better asked to Meta and Mark Zuckerberg. What I do believe is that he, as several others, see that this new iteration of the web is going to happen, and he wants to clearly have a stake in it. And that's fair. He's on the market, and he's a very big player. However, it's also really interesting to realize that Facebook, Meta, has a business, as so many others, that is based on data collection. Now, we should be aware that for instance, immersive technologies, we are talking about a much bigger amount of data being collected by each, or of each individual user. So for instance, I think it was a study done 2 months ago from the University of Berkeley that pinpointed or that allowed a team of scientists to identify by name the users of a specific 96%, sorry, of the users of a video game, a VR video game, just by analyzing 3 of their body motion points, just that. So, and this is 96% of the people being identified by name. We should be aware that by using these technologies, of course, there are several, there is again, a large amount of data. We're talking about gesture, we're talking about voice, we're talking about the color of my skin, how long are my fingers, all of that can be captured. And that's why it's also so important to allow for users to consent, to inform users, but more than that, to create, or for organizations to create also solutions that can reap the opportunities, because there are a lot of great opportunities to improve our lives.
Tell us more about what are the opportunities and the risks, as you said right now.
Yeah, well, again, I see the possibilities of having a web that is 3D, that is in real time, that is spatialized as the cornerstone of us being able to edit the world. And by doing that, we can be able to provide whatever is needed, for instance, for a classroom. We can provide, yes. And the cool thing now, resource-wise, of course. Now, the cool thing is that just the availability of today, and I saw this at a classroom exactly, of the kids just putting in the VR glasses and seeing an historical scene, delving into it, living it together. This is a very important part, because they're not like closed in that scene. No, they're hearing all the others, right? Living it together and then taking off and talking about it makes us realize one thing. So it's not technology. That experience created memories. They have shared memories. They are going afterwards, like 10 years after, they are going to talk how they were sitting in that classroom, how they were talking to each other. Then they put on some glasses. Then they had an experience that they shared, which was not that usual. And then they took it out, and the memory of them being at Ausbegotte battle or whatever was still there.
It's like the power of an example, but much stronger when you're learning something.
So that's the issue, because talking about specifically immersive technologies, we're talking about something that delves not just with our cognitive abilities, but also with our senses. And that's powerful. But again, the metaverse is not just immersive technologies. Then you have like AI. You're seeing what AI is doing. It's like right now, the same courses, university courses, marketing courses, design courses that started in the beginning this September, if they have the same course description, so last September, this September, here in 2023, they will be already obsolete. Because you need to integrate this huge tool that is right now disrupting the market. So just being able to reap that, but at the same time also taking into account the challenges, because again, everything that we're doing, we are, as Kavya was saying, we are not totally able to understand the effects. Not even OpenAI, OpenAI's founder actually said that, Sam Altman. We are not able right now to understand the full effect and the full impact that this is going to have on society. So for all intents and purposes, we are beta testing society, right? And society change. Now, and we accept that. And we need to be conscious of that, because that's the only way we can then take a step into doing it responsibly, right? And to doing it responsibly, there are some methods, there are some techniques And there are some, this huge team of experts that has all the necessary experience to, help us on that. And that's, again, XRSI.
Kavya, why can metaverse be a danger to democracy?
Wow, super interesting question. I'm going to quickly touch on the risk that, Luis just mentioned about the identity, and then I'm going to go over to the democracy danger, because I've seen it firsthand, as I mentioned, back at Facebook in 2016. So quickly, about that example of the ability to identify a human being in sub 10 seconds accurately, that poses such dangers to minorities, especially, we've seen the examples of genocide almost happening in Myanmar. So this kind of a, threat to identity as soon as you engage with metaverse is very real. And we need to be cognizant of that. But then the good part, at XRSI, we are actually developing augmented reality authentication protocol for police public safety officers in the United States. Why is that good? Because imagine a firefighter sort of using these glasses to navigate his way across this smoke-filled room. They don't have time to authenticate and put the password and do the dance. In sub 10 seconds, they can be authenticated. They're the right people. Police in critical situations where there is life and death situation. So the use cases of these ability to identify are really tremendous and very useful. But in the wrong hands, imagine a government misusing the very identity to cause genocide, to target a type of minorities. I mean, I am a minority myself. This is very personal to me, and it's very concerning. So now let's go to how it plays out, how it poses the danger to democracy. So in 2016, Cambridge Analytica used just about 5,000 data points on each American. Now, with the virtual reality itself, this is, I'm citing a research from Stanford University in 2019. They established within 20 minutes of experience in virtual reality, you can gather over 2 million unique body recordings about a person. Now compare that 5,000 data points, over 2 million body recordings, and the amount of data points with all sorts of convergence of technologies. Now, here is why it's even more dangerous. In fact, I'm going to be very closely watching 2024 election, because now we have yet another technology that is coming into the mix is generative AI. Just about a couple of weeks ago, Republican National Committee unleashed a sort of like an attack ad on the Democratic Party, which was literally labeled as generated by artificial intelligence. Now, here's why it's dangerous. We're already aware that political parties can now target constituents. If we have the mix of generative AI, this can actually hyper-target people. And what, one of our advisors talks about this very extensively, calls it the AI manipulation problem, and really manipulate individuals to the extent that they would change their mind, but not just change their mind about voting. They'll start to view the world in a different way. We've seen examples of it happen when people are polarized to the left, to right, and then, politicians kind of exploit that by delivering a certain type of message that either provokes them, it makes them, kind of angry or something. So this is the threat to democracy, that with generative AI, with all these convergence, we would be able to deliver kind of like I would almost say, propaganda, misinformation, deep fake of a very visceral nature that makes you feel, oh my God, how dare they? And it moves you internally because these technologies are so powerful. And that's something we're going to be closely watching out here in the US. This is a very real threat to democracy.
Luis, you and Claudia are much closer to metaverse than I am, or most of the people. How and when will this change?
I think it's already changing. So it's when we talk about the metaverse and everyone says, oh, but when is it going to arrive? And we're down this path.
We are living it.
We are right now going towards it, but try to remember, like for instance, I had this chat with a friend of mine last week, and we were talking, so when did we start using emojis? When? And I was like 2016, maybe 2015, and it seems like we did it always, right? But same with memes. Like, how on earth right now we all understand what a meme is and how we can communicate with memes. So
maybe we don't give a name to that, the name, the metaverse.
Oh, we do. Right now we call it smartphone. And we, through the smartphone, access a lot of services, and we think that through the smartphone we can sort out all of this. So we have photos, we have videos, but at the same time, right now, we don't realize, for instance, that to unlock some of our smartphones, we are providing our face to Apple, for instance. We are giving our face, right? So, and this is kind of interesting because we do it so candidly, we do it so innocently. But at the same time, for instance, and I just shared, it was a patent, I think, from 2020 that allowed for a service to be created that leveraged all this data, so the data from our behaviors and the data from our face, to create, digital beings of us that are then supported by AI that allow you, when we pass away, for our parents to keep on talking to us. Now, this is, again, a patent from 2020. So I'm not talking about the future, I'm talking about the past, right?
That's scary.
It is, right? But now that's the issue. It doesn't need to be scary because we are still much at time to talk about this, to discuss, and to build things towards what we want. Now the issue is exactly that. If we don't do anything, well, someone else will. So maybe it's a good idea for us to start doing it.
Kavya, what a day in a life would be in metaverse? There's an answer for this?
Oh, absolutely, there is an answer. So it depends on who you ask. If you asked me in 2018, as I was the head of security for this virtual world that's still evolving, I would say I spent about almost 8 hours there. But it was still a narrow, focused virtual world, not interconnected with other worlds, not interconnected with augmented reality type of glasses where I could say, hey, Siri, like, I leave my office, hey, Siri, order me an Uber, don't Siri, okay? So this is the kind of thing that I think a typical day in the metaverse isn't too different from what we are doing with these type of devices. The difference really is we're moving in and out so seamlessly between the virtual worlds, the augmented, the holographic stuff, basically an immersive environment to the real environment. And that's when, you'll know when we go from a heads down culture to a heads up culture. And I have to say, I really look forward to it because the sense of safety, the awareness of our surrounding as a woman, that's really valuable. Because right now we're just kind of zombieing out and putting all our attention into this squared glass, and we're sort of forgetting about it. So this is the merging of physical and virtual, which is remarkable. Now we are almost using this technology, especially when it becomes seamless, to get directions. Ask a surgeon. That some of the surgeons, I would mention Dr. Shafi Ahmed, who performed coordinated assisted surgery with using augmented reality glasses in 2021. So for them, this is already a kind of reality, but we're almost at a place where, in the internet era, where the websites were popping up, and the local area networks were there. Some of the people had metropolitan area network, but the web wasn't truly connected. And over the course of time, all these worlds, all these augmentation, holographic, assisted surgery, etc., they're going to start to interconnect. And that's when we have arrived at the next iteration of the internet. And we'll be able to seamlessly experience that. And I really do look forward to it too.
Thank you so much, Cavi. It was a pleasure. Luís, muito obrigada. Thank you so much por este debate. Ficamos a perceber mais sobre este mundo complexo, fascinante e também assusta um pouco este mundo do metaverso. E agora, João, o debate do estado dos média em Portugal.